Hey guys, welcome back to this edition of Sports Betting Truth. And if you had the pleasure of watching my live stream yesterday on January 23rd, 2021, you would have been witness to my worst ever day betting on sports ever. In my entire 10-year history of betting on sports, I have never had a day as bad as yesterday, and I live streamed it in all its glory. Before I go further, though, I just want to talk to you about our friends at BetMGM and BetRivers. If you live in Pennsylvania or Illinois, BetRivers is a legal online sports betting app that you can use to bet on sports legally without having to send your money overseas. You can get up to an instant $250 deposit match if you sign up with the link below in the description. And if you live in Tennessee, Colorado, Indiana, or Iowa, BetMGM is your friend. They are also a legal online stateside facing book that you can bet at here in the United States without having to send your money overseas. And I have a link for you below in the description. Click on that, sign up today. You can get up to a $500 instant deposit match. So if you're watching these sports betting truth videos, absorbing all the knowledge I'm giving out, you want to put it to use. So why not sign up for sports books legally without any stress or worry about sending your money to God knows where? Sign up today, put the skills you are learning here on Sports Betting Truth to use. Anyway, I felt like the disaster of last night had a few silver linings. First of all, it allows me to talk about the lessons learned from last night, most notably how I was able to survive last night. So just how bad was it yesterday? Well, if you didn't tune into the live stream, 7-28 overall, highlighted by a paltry 3-23 against the spread. I mean, even if you tried to do that bad against the spread, you couldn't be able to do it. Flipping a coin on 26 plays, you're probably going to go 13-13, 12-14, 14-12 on average, just flipping a coin. So if you take the probability of getting 3 out of 26 right, that's just bad luck. I did everything right. You're probably saying, well, you played too many games. Well, you can just as easily go 3-23 over 26 games spread out over 26 weeks. Say you only played one game a week. You could just as easily go 3-23 over 26 games spread out over 26 plays or 26 weeks as you would 3-23 over 26 plays on a single day. But the reason, I had so many plays yesterday was because my model against the spread up until yesterday had been doing so well that the keys were actually pretty relaxed, pretty low, because even without keys, it was doing very well against the spread. And even when I tried to get picky with keys, because I have to on a Saturday because there's so many games, but even when I was getting picky with keys, it still gave me 26 plays, So, and the keys yesterday were saying, if it met all the criteria, and you could see what the criteria was, basically every single one of the 6 models had to be above a certain number. If it met their criteria, up until that point, it was 71-41 for a profit of like 26 units. And so I'm like, what was I supposed to do? Right? The keys said every play that met the criteria, those 26 plays, up until that point, 71-41 plus 26 units. I went ahead and played it, and this is just what happened. It happens. Even when you do everything right, stuff like this can happen. So here's my actual units on the season that I've won and lost. So I was actually up 10 units on the season before yesterday, so this dropped me all the way down. Now I'm down about 12 units on the year. So that's what the temptation you have to resist is going to be, is resist the temptation to be like, oh crap, I got to gain all that back in 1 or 2 or 3 days. No. I still have plenty of days left in the season. I have 72 days left in the college basketball season to make that up. And so the temptation will be is like, okay, there's no way that's going to happen 2 days in a row, right? There's no way that'll happen 2 days in a row. So I'm going to double down. I'm going to play more units. I'm going to break the rules because, the law of averages says that's not going to happen again. That right there is what is known as the gambler's fallacy. We see it in casinos all the time. Like you're at the roulette table and you see black has hit 5 times in a row. You're like, it's not going to happen 6 times in a row, so I'm going to go all in on red. That's the type of mentality that can bury you right here. So no, you stay the course. You stick to the same rules. No more than 20% of your bankroll on a single day. Keep your unit sizes reasonable at 1, at most 2% of your bankroll. I stick to 1 though. That's me, 1% of my bankroll's unit size. So yes, I might have lost over 1/5 of my bankroll yesterday. And I know what else you're saying. Oh, you lost 22 units yesterday. That's more than 20% of your bankroll if 1 unit equals 1%. Well, you got to remember what I have on my site is not quite exactly what I've lost. So I was actually at 25% when you factored in all the live bets and everything. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful. But if you look at how I've done on the season, you know, there's been 1, 2, I've had 3 days that are actually pretty good. And I could have 1 good day, 2 good days, and I can be right back up to above even. So you cannot push the limits. You cannot be like, okay, I'm going to be ultra aggressive. Stay the course. Slow and steady wins the race here. So if you've watched the videos here on Sports Betting Truth, you'll know that I stick to 2 very strict rules when it comes to bankroll management. One of them is make sure your unit sizes are reasonable. For me, my unit sizes are 1% of my bankroll. I recommend no more than 2% of your bankroll for a unit size. And if you're using anything like a Kelly criterion, I recommend capping it at 2.5% at the most. You want your bankroll to last. And second, never bet more than 20% of your bankroll in a single day. That way, if you have a wipe like I had last night and go 7 and 28, you're not going to lose your entire bankroll in one sitting. You're still going to have, at worst, 80% of your bankroll to dig yourself out of the hole. Now, I know what people are going to say. They're going to be like, but I have a good approach. If I only bet 1 unit on a game that's 1% of my bankroll and only limit myself to 20% of my bankroll in a single day, I'm leaving money on the table. Well, if you have a good enough model, you might be right, but that still doesn't mean that you can't have a crappy day like I had yesterday. I have done everything right up to yesterday. I feel like I have a good model, a good approach, an approach that had been successful over the past 2 weeks since I switched to the 6 model approach in my college basketball betting, and I still went 7 and 28. It can happen. It can and will happen to everyone at some point. You are going to have a really bad day or a really bad week or a really bad month, a really bad year, or a really bad stretch. It's going to happen. It's like, I live here in Las Vegas, right? It's like people are saying, oh, it's not going to rain. You don't need an umbrella. But yeah, I live in the desert. It's probably not going to rain most of the days of the year, but it will rain. Just like sports betting, it's going to rain. You're going to encounter a storm. And on the flip side, yeah, you're going to have some good days too. Even if you don't do it, even if you're flipping a coin, you can still have a good day. The law of averages says you're going to. It all evens out over time, and the idea is that hopefully over the long run, if you do everything right, you're going to have more really good days than more really bad days, but you're going to have both. It's going to happen. And so here's why I recommend a conservative approach to your bankroll. What is more likely? Ask yourself this: you winning a lot of money or are you losing money? I think even if you have a good approach, even if you feel like you have everything down, the odds are still against you. That's why it is called gambling. All those casinos out there outside my window, they didn't get built by winners. Even with a good approach, the odds are still, it's hard to win. It's hard to win even with a good approach. So you have to ask yourself, okay, what if my model's not good? What's more likely to happen, me winning or me losing? Well, the answer is you're more likely to lose, even with a good approach. So that's why I recommend a conservative approach. That way, if reality happens and the odds are against you here, then you at least have a way to dig yourself out. Because trust me, I've been there. I've been tempted before to break my 20% rule and break my 1% unit rule. I've been tempted many times because until yesterday, my against the spread model in college basketball over the past 2 weeks has been kicking ass. It had been kicking ass, right? And so I was like, geez, maybe I should be betting more on spread bets. It's clear my model's pretty good. I'm glad I didn't because of what we saw yesterday. I'm glad we didn't. And so, hang on a second. Hold on. Hang on. So, it's Sunday afternoon, and since I didn't lose my entire bankroll in college basketball yesterday, I was able to pick myself up and move forward and start a new day. This is a new day college basketball betting wise, and so one of my first bets today is Radford +3 and +140 on the money line. They were up by 16 points, so I was like, you know what, they have this in the bag. I'm going to start doing this video. And up until about 2 minutes ago, they were up by 4 points with 5 seconds left. So I was like, they got this. But hold on. I want to show you this. This is a learning lesson. See, this is the kind of crap I'm talking about right here. Like when you're on a losing streak, this is the stuff that happens to you. That's the type of stuff that happens to you. I had Radford. Yeah. So yeah, UNC Asheville hit 2 threes in the last 5 seconds of the game, including executing the Valparaiso baseball pass play to force overtime. I mean, my Radford bet might still win. It's +3, +140. But see, when you're on a losing streak, that's the type of stuff that happens to you. Trust me. Just hope that, over time, hopefully you'll get as much good luck as bad. But the point I'm trying to make here, as that game goes into overtime, is conservative is the way to go, because the odds are against you, so you want to make sure you're limiting your downside rather than maximizing your upside, because the chances of you losing everything is greater than the chance of you becoming rich betting on sports. So a slow and steady approach that allows yourself to dig yourself out of holes is the way to go. Yeah, I could have bet 100% of my bankroll yesterday. And guess what? If I did, I'd only have like 5% of my bankroll left. And then what would I do? I wouldn't have enough bankroll to build myself back up, so I'd either have to redeposit or quit. I don't want to do either of those things. So by capping myself at 20%, I saved myself yesterday. Yes, it does limit my upside on days that are good, but that's the risk I'm willing to take. The slow and steady approach is the way to go. And I guarantee you, this video is going to be flooded in the comments section with people like, I have a really good approach, and I bet 100% of my bankroll every day because I know I'm going to win, and I'm not leaving money on the table. Well, good for you. Good for you. If that's really the case, and you have an approach that's bulletproof like that allows you to bet 100% of your bankroll and, take big risk and bet a lot of money, good for you. I mean, I've had people in my comment sections all the time being like, I bet $1,000 a game and my bankroll isn't $100,000. Well, good for you. If your bankroll's $10,000 and you're betting $1,000 a game, great. That's the risk you're taking. So if you have a slump like I had yesterday and lose everything, good. Then you're going to have to redeposit, and then who's the winner? I'm not saying my approach is right. I'm just saying over time, I feel like the conservative, safe, and steady approach where you limit your downside at the expense of limiting your upside is preferable to maximizing your upside but leaving yourself exposed to a massive downside hit like I would have seen yesterday. Because trust me, the odds of me having a 23-3 day against the spread are pretty slim for the rest of the season. So in order to get myself out, I'm going to have to be careful, slowly and steadily try to win enough units to dig myself out of the hole. But if I don't, at least I'm limiting my downside and not exposing myself to further massive losses, hopefully. Since I lost 20% of my bankroll yesterday, 1% of my bankroll this morning was not 1% of my bankroll yesterday. So I had to readjust my unit sizes, but that's part of it. So if I lose 20% of my bankroll again today, I'm not going to lose as much as I lost yesterday. But at the same time, I still have 80% of my remaining bankroll to help dig myself out instead of a low bankroll that's not nearly big enough to dig myself out. So that's the teaching moment in a really bad day. Don't overreact, don't double down, don't push forward. Understand it's going to happen and have yourself prepared for if it does happen that it doesn't kill you. Because thankfully, I still have 80% of my bankroll remaining to try and turn things around over the next 72 days in college basketball. If I hadn't followed that advice, I'd either have to be redepositing right now, which I don't want to do, or I'd just have to be giving it up and I'd wasted all this time on this college basketball model over the past 2 months. Well, that wraps it up today for Sports Betting Truth. Stay tuned for more sports betting videos that'll help teach you actual advice to help you not necessarily win at sports betting, but make your money last as long as possible, because that's one thing I'm never going to do here. I'm never going to say, do this and you will win. I will say, do this and your money can last longer. That's the whole goal of Sports Betting Truth, guys. There's no guarantees in this. Anyway, until next time, this is Sports Betting Truth, signing off.